Mr. Speaker, I move to suspend the rules and pass Bill H.R. 2845, the Pipeline Safety, Regulatory Certainty, and Job Creation Act of 2011.
The clerk will report the title of the bill.
Union Calendar Number 197, H.R. 2845, a bill to amend Title 49, United States Code, to provide for enhanced safety and environmental protection in pipeline transportation, to provide for enhanced reliability in the transportation of the nation's energy products by pipeline, and for other purposes.
Pursuant to the rule, the gentleman from Pennsylvania, Mr. Shuster, and the gentleman from Washington, Mr. Larson, each will control 20 minutes. The Chair recognizes the gentleman from Pennsylvania.
And I thank the Speaker, and I ask unanimous consent that all members have 5 legislative days in which to revise and extend their remarks and include extraneous materials on H.R. 2845.
Without objection, the gentleman is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I yield myself such time as I may consume. This important legislation improves safety, enhances reliability, and provides the regulatory certainty necessary to create jobs. I'm very proud of the work that has gone into this bill, both across the aisle and between the committees. This legislation represents a bipartisan and bicameral agreement reached by the House Transportation Committee, the House Energy and Commerce Committee, and the Senate Commerce, Science, and Transportation Committee. I'm also proud this legislation is supported by both the pipeline industry and key safety advocates. The United States has the largest network of energy pipelines in the world, and pipelines are the energy lifelines that power nearly all of our daily activities. The hallmark of America's 2.5 million-mile pipeline network continues to be that it delivers extraordinary volumes of product reliably, safely, efficiently, and economically. Pipelines are the safest and most cost-effective means to transport the natural gas and hazardous liquid products that fuel our economy. Since 1986, the volume of energy products transported through pipelines has increased by 1/3, yet the number of reportable incidents has decreased by 28%. While the data shows that federal pipeline safety programs have been on the right track, recent pipeline incidents suggest there continues to be room for improvement. H.R. 2845 builds on our strong commitment to improve safety and enhance reliability to the transportation of our nation's energy products by pipeline. Specifically, the legislation reauthorizes the federal pipeline safety programs of the Pipeline and Hazardous Materials Safety Administration through FY 2015. It improves pipeline transportation by strengthening the enforcement of our current laws and filling gaps in existing laws where necessary. It provides the regulatory certainty necessary for pipeline owners and operators to plan infrastructure investments and create jobs. It ensures a sensible and practical regulatory approach to improving safety that applies cost-benefit principles. Protects and preserves congressional authority, keeping regulators on a tight leash by ensuring certain key rulemakings are not finalized until Congress has an opportunity to act. It addresses National Transportation Safety Board recommendations resulting from recent pipeline incidents with a balanced and reasonable responses, including addressing the incidents in California, Michigan, Montana, and Pennsylvania. There are a few key priority issues I want to highlight in this legislation. During my time in Congress, I've been disappointed to see the executive branch and unelected bureaucrats attempt to take more and more control and decision-making authority from Congress. These actions harm Congress as an institution and make our government further and further removed from the American people. In this bill, when we call for substantial changes to the federal pipeline safety programs, we ask the administration to consider specific factors, take into account costs and benefits, and provide Congress with recommendations on how the program should be changed. Congress will then have an opportunity to act on those recommendations before key rulemakings are finalized. This approach preserves congressional authority and will keep regulators from overreaching. Another issue I've highlighted on the floor in the past is damage prevention, which is the leading cause of pipeline incidents. Our legislation improves pipeline damage prevention and cracks down on third-party pipeline damages by eliminating unnecessary exemptions. And at this time, I'd also like to urge everybody to call before you dig and dial 811, which is an extremely important part of this program in preventing third-party damages in this country. In field hearings leading up to the drafting of this legislation, my colleague from Pennsylvania, Jim Gerlach, suggested ways in which we could use state and local government personnel as force multipliers to supplement federal pipeline safety inspectors. We have built on this idea, and in this bill we've included a provision that will allow PHMSA to provide training to state and local government personnel and to potentially establish regional training centers paid for by the pipeline industry at no cost to the federal government. There is great interest in this unique and permissive approach in my home state of Pennsylvania, and I'll closely be following the implementation of this provision. I was deeply disappointed that language I had included in our committee's version of legislation regarding pipeline permitting issues was not included in the final bill. We have big issues with the Army Corps of Engineers in Pennsylvania in the permitting of pipelines. The Corps is encroaching on the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection and has led to significant increases in permitting timelines for projects with limited environmental impacts. My colleague from West Virginia, Mr. Rahal, has experienced similar issues in his home state, all related to the Marcellus shale gas. In the interest of compromise and moving this legislation forward, I was willing to withdraw my language and settle on a study on this critical issue, but I'll continue to monitor closely this issue in Pennsylvania and across the United States. I'm proud of this bill and the work that Chairman Mica, Ranking Member Rahal, Subcommittee Ranking Member Brown, and the staff and their hard work that they've put us on both sides of the aisle. Especially like to point out Jim Timon and Steve Martinko, who have logged countless hours helping to move this bill forward. I also want to thank the Energy and Commerce Committee, Chairman Fred Upton and Ranking Member Waxman and their staff for their efforts. Our legislation makes a strong program even stronger by keeping in place regulatory measures that are working and making adjustments to those that don't. I would urge all my colleagues to support this important legislation that increases safety and creates jobs. With that, I reserve the balance of my time.